Commissioner Stamper, do you want to talk about the Discovery team that we attended last Thursday, was it?
It was Thursday, yes. It was well attended. And this, again, I believe there were 3 teams. And for those of you who don't know about the Discovery team is a group of high school students who are selected from usually between Morton and White Pass. And they will go out and basically clear trails, do things, no power tools, I don't believe, but they do a lot of work that the Forest Service employees used to do years ago. But with the downsizing of the Forest Service, literally these young individuals are doing the work of those. Not to mention all the soft skills they're learning, because the Forest Service oversees the project, and they're very diligent in making sure that safety rules apply. For the first week, I believe, they go through a training, to make sure that all the proper techniques and lifting and all the other things that are in place. So it's an incredible program, and I believe that Commissioner Hadler was the one that originally started this. And so these are the type of programs, as I've always said, White Pass and from Mossy Rock, from Onalaska east, there's no opportunity like kids going to work at the local fast food restaurants. So there's just not a lot of industry up there. So this provides not only an opportunity for them to save a little money, but also it gives them some excellent skill opportunities to develop those and to transition from high school into college, or also apprenticeship programs. It's a great program, and I think there were a grand total of about 20, I want to say about 28 plus 20, or maybe not that many, but they also had site leaders and of course their staff personnel with that. So they do an awesome job, and it's an incredible program. I wish we could fund more money for these types of programs, not only in the East Lewis County, but I know there would be opportunity for other places too. And I know that Pack Mountain, we got a little money out of Pack Mountain this past year, and they've got a boatload of money. So I would like to see some of that money. I sat on the board on that, so I know. I would like to see some of those types of funds for those types of programs in some of our more rural areas, not only in Lewis County, but some of the neighboring counties too that's affected by that. So we're going to make a hard push. I know SRS, Secure Rural Schools, is a big funding source for that, and right now it seems to be in question. So we're pushing our legislators real hard at the federal level to make sure that we can get that through. So we do not want to lose that valuable resource. And again, the staff, it was a great turnout. Commissioner Fund was there, along with a lot of the staff members, and community members too. So thank them.
And former Commissioner Hadler usually
And
goes
he was
every
there.
year.
He was there. He's always there, and again, I think he takes, and he should. It's one of the programs that, if anyone knows, sometimes and again, I'm not firsthand knowledge, but there's a lot of programs that do not do well, for the job market. But this is a fine example of government, private sector, and even at the federal level, working hand in hand to make good things happen. So I'm very, very proud of that program, and we plan on continuing that, whatever that looks like.
I think you and Bob Gunther have been strong advocates that we would not have had the student participation at that number if you folks hadn't been advocating for this program.
Yeah, and I think that, the whole thing on that, Bob is very good. Lee Gross is on that committee.
That's true.
And I know that all the commissioners, I know Commissioner Averill, all the commissioners have been very, very supportive of that program because they understand the dynamics of Lewis County and some of the challenges we have, but at the same time, that is a real success program. So we'd like to build on that and continue those successes for those kids and opportunity. So, thank you. Okay.
Press conference.
We'll go ahead and move through with the press conference.
I just was going to say, if anybody asks us about whether we're disappointed with the capital budget and the Hearst decision, yes and yes. We're very disappointed. We were hoping that Hearst would be addressed. People have said Hearst first before there would be a capital budget. And unfortunately, Hearst didn't get a vote. And we understand from some of our legislators, they thought they had the votes in the House of Representatives. It was bipartisan, but it did not come up for a vote. And so therefore, the money that is sitting in our capital budget that would help Lewis County, including $1.5 million for Winlock and our flood authority, et cetera, it's not coming through. So we hear behind the scenes there are negotiations going on, but we are sadly disappointed that it didn't happen.
Yeah, Commissioner, this is Ron Averill from Centralia area. I want to talk to that subject too. But a couple of things beforehand. That Roundtree Road project was one that I addressed on, I think, my first term as a county commissioner. That road has been a constant problem, and of course there were only a couple homes that were past the area that was going bad. And we had a lot of trouble trying to address it because of the difficulty of the sloughing of the river and the rearrangement. And it's just interesting to me that so many years later that we're still working on Roundtree Road.
It's happening now.
The second, I understand that Commissioner Jackson is planning to do some moonlighting this week in his old place. Mr. Barno announced on his program this morning that he's going to be off for a week or two, and he's got some people sitting in. So, Bobby, looking forward to hearing your day on the program. I did want to talk to the capital budget area. It really poses a huge number of problems, and as Edna and I both sit on the flood authority. This is the main impact, not only for our county, but Thurston and Grays Harbor County as well, because that capital budget on the Senate version had $50 million to do all of the things that we're going to do. Probably the worst problem that we have is that we kind of changed the arrangement through legislation. When we formed the Office of the Chehalis Basin in the Department of Ecology. Unfortunately, the funding for that office was in the capital budget. And so I know that Jim Kramer, who is advising, is really looking around, trying to figure how we can keep certain things in motion while we're waiting for a capital budget, which probably won't come until after January with a new session of the legislature, because the governor, and unless someone comes up with a solution pretty quickly, is not going to call back into session for them to sit there and argue with each other for another 30 days and have the same solution come out. We do have about somewhere between $13 and $15 million that is sitting in the small projects funding, which was rolled over, and that money is currently accessible. Of course, under normal circumstances, because they were already committed in projects, the rollover is allowed. And I know that with that much money that's sitting in there, that Jim Kramer is looking at that pot of funds, and it's going to be a decision that's going to have to be made by the advisory committee on where we go from there. So, as the small projects committee chair, some of those projects are already in motion, and contracts have been set out, and so there's I know one of the questions that many of us have is if we steal from that pot now, will we be able to get it back?
Replenish it, yes.
And that's a real concern, obviously, to the communities that benefit from those particular projects. But as I say, if we're going to do the planning that we need to do to keep the main objectives of the Flood Authority and the ecology project of finding a solution to our flooding in the area, plus looking at aquatic species restoration. I presume that we'll be able to do a little bit of aquatic species because about $10 million is coming from federal funds, and this doesn't block the use of that money. But as I say, funding to keep the ecology staff going and to do that planning and things does have to be worked out. And I've already reported to Rob Hill that some of our money that's sitting there may be at risk, at least temporarily, while we try to find a solution to it. But this shows you the real impact that's on us here, but Richard DeBolt sat on that capital budget committee, and there was a lot of money in there, not only for Flood Authority but other things in Lewis County that are not going to happen until we get by this real impasse. So it's a real challenge for all of us.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
Eric Martin, Public Works Director, County Engineer, and Chehalis Basin Flood Control Zone District Administrator. Along those same lines, I have reiterate what Colonel Averill said, and have heard also from our staff contact at Department of Ecology that they are too looking at how to kind of reallocate some of the existing funds in light of the capital budget situation that we're in. Obviously, the funding that we were anticipating for our efforts in the Flood Control Zone District was also coming from that capital budget and is hopefully just waylaid, but we certainly aren't anticipating getting that as timely as we thought we were. That doesn't mean that we want to stop doing what we're doing. It doesn't mean we don't want to continue to move forward. So with that said, I do want to reiterate that we are recruiting for an advisory committee for the Flood Control Zone District. We have put those feelers out through emails and websites and through the media. I want to continue to let people know that there are important positions on that committee, and we need people. We've only gotten a couple of applications so far, and so we're looking to get people more involved in that committee. And if you know people or are interested yourself, please contact Lara Seiler in our office at Public Works there, and she can get you all the information you need to apply. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to emphasize that we have 9 positions on that committee, so we are really looking for people who are interested and could spend the time with us as we go forward on the Flood Control Zone District. We also are accepting applications to help us and review with us the budget as we go through several days of budget reviews. And someone said about, well, why would the county want to have advisory committees? Can't they just do it on their own? Well, this is democracy. I mean, we are elected, we make decisions, but we want citizen input. We want people to tell us what they see out there. There are eyes and ears out there. And without citizen input, our decisions aren't quite as good as they could be. So we rely on citizens to give us input. We get calls on roads and permits all the time, and it's just by those kind of calls helps us do as best job as we can. So, and we are also concerned about our budget, our operating budget. And we are not the only county concerned about our operating budget. Pacific County in March, they were having to cut $500,000 from their budget. They realized they weren't going to be getting the funds. And the Chinook Observer was saying money cliff nears for county. And then Mason County recently, let's see, it is July 18th. Faced with a depleting reserve balance and looming payroll expenditures, Mason County is confronting a mid-year budget cut of nearly $2 million. And the sheriff at Mason County is very concerned about that. And I know in Mason County, before we had all our tax money coming in April, in March, they were very, very close to having to borrow to meet payroll. So this is a statewide issue for counties, and we've been working hard on those unfunded mandates. Once again, I feel like a broken record, but indigent defense and our jail medical, it's really tough for us to have these kind of things that we're responsible for, but we are not given the dollars to handle it. So once again, if people would like to be involved in the budget process, please sign up, and we welcome you to sit with us as we go through the budget. Any other?
To Commissioner Funn's point, I had the opportunity to meet with Jim Walsh, who is the new representative from the 19th District, and visited him at the Capitol, and then saw him again when we were up there for the WASAC training. He and I had talked a little bit about the very same thing, indigent defense, and mentioned that he wanted to draft some legislation to that effect, and so we're going to be staying in contact with each other about that, and hopefully I can lend some help to that. And for the benefit of Colonel Averill, spoiler alert, tomorrow we'll be talking with Representative Ed Orcutt about abandoned cemeteries. On Tuesday we'll be talking with Ruth Gutierrez about Homeless Connect. And then the following Tuesday, we'll have Rob LaFontaine as we talk about countywide transit. So tune in to KELA AM 1470. Central Area. I'm not even sure I know how to operate the board anymore.
Yes, yes. Thank you for doing that. I'm sure you'll be getting other calls regarding county issues, and thank you for being there.
Sure.
Any other? Okay. Seeing no further items on our agenda, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, a motion was made second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
great day.
Yes.
You are invited to immerse yourself in the beauty of nature in all four corners of Lewis County, Washington. From our fields to your table, farms in the west share their bounty. Limitless landscapes, forests and mountains beg to be explored in the east. Fish our many rivers and lakes in the south, and discover where history and culture intersect in our twin cities. Explore it all by visiting our Facebook page and plan your next getaway at discoverlewiscounty.com. Culture, history, and adventure all come alive when you discover Lewis County.